Hey guys, so today I'm going to talk a little bit about World's Strongest Man 2020. We just had World's Strongest Man 2019 in Bradenton, Florida, as you can see here. And we had a new champion, Martins Lisis. Congratulations to Martins. But now we need to start thinking about who's going to be the athletes that are going to compete next year in 2020. So I've compiled a list of at least half the athletes that I'm aware of that so far have qualified. Basically, it's quite public knowledge that the guys that make the finals, they generally get an invitation to compete in the following year. So if IMG, for example, want to have 25 athletes again next year, you can guarantee that the top 10 that made the finals are going to also be in that lineup. So the top 10 who are going to be competing at 2020's World's Strongest Man, event location to be confirmed, normally a week before the event, but hopefully this year the guys can get the information out just a little bit sooner for the athletes and maybe for fans if you want to go along and join. Martins Lisis, he'll be competing at 2020, being that he is the incumbent World's Strongest Man champion. We've also got Mateusz Kieliszkowski and Hafthor Bjornsson, because they also made the podium. They will bank their placings in the World's Strongest Man next year. We then look at the other athletes that made the final. So we have JF Caron, who came 4th, Tom Stoltman that came 5th, Brian Shaw that came 6th, Luke Stoltman that came 7th, Trey Mitchell III, who came 8th, Adam Bishop from Great Britain, who came 9th, and Konstantin Janasha, who came 10th. So those are your 10 people that I'm pretty confident, like 100% confident, that will be at World's Strongest Man in 2020 due to their placings in this year's competition. That then leaves 15 spots for other athletes to compete. So thinking about that, how are they going to qualify, and who do we think is going to make the finals or make the final list for World's Strongest Man? First up is Jerry Pritchett. Now, Jerry Pritchett's a really great deadlifter. Jerry's from Arizona, and he's a multiple Arnold Classic and World's Strongest Man competitor. Now, Jerry competed at the Giants Live Wembley Arena Tour, and he actually podiumed, finishing 2nd. So in doing that, Jerry Pritchett has now banked his place at the World's Strongest Man 2020. So congratulations to Jerry. That then leaves placings on various other podiums running up to the World's Strongest Man next year. So Giants Live will hold multiple qualifiers around the world, including the North American Tour, which we have coming up shortly. So that's a qualifier in the North of America. They're going to have their Giants Live World Tour Finals, which is going to be in, I think it's the Manchester Arena in September. They then also have Britain's Strongest Man 2020. So if I'm getting this right, the winner of next year's Britain's Strongest Man would qualify for World's Strongest Man, even though World's is only 2 months, maybe 3 at most, after Britain's. And then also Europe's Strongest Man. So whoever competes there either wins it or hits the podium, they will bank their positions for that show. So that gives you another sort of 9 to 12 potential names. And being that there's normally 25 to 30 athletes, as long as IMG don't decide to cut the numbers down again, it does leave open a couple of guest and wildcard opportunities for athletes. So you might find the likes of Larry Wheels, Iron Bibby, maybe Pete Bremner will get an invitation, or some of the other powerlifters that have been lifting recently like Nedzmin Ambaskovic, he could also get an invitation. So depending on how these guys do in other competitions, I know that Iron Bibby's going to be competing in the World Tour Finals. I've seen Larry Wheels' name thrown in the mix for various competitions, including the Giants Live Strongman Classic, which is happening next year. Now, I actually think that's happening after World's Strongest Man. So Larry Wheels, if you're looking to compete at World's Strongest Man, you're going to need to qualify, if that's the rules. We will see. And the shows that you would have to get into, well, you're not apparently listed at the American qualifier, but you are potentially down for September for the Giants Live World Tour Finals. So hopefully if Larry can compete there and podium or place well enough to bank enough points, because what you're finding is some of the athletes who competed at the Wembley show had already qualified. So by Martins and Mateusz taking podium, they kind of took 2 places away from people that could have potentially qualified for World's Strongest Man. So that will leave Colin Bryce and Darren Sadler and whoever else makes these decisions in a position where they're going to have to look down the list and see maybe who came 4th, who came 5th, who's competed at various other shows of theirs to qualify. Normally, the likes of Luke and Tom Stoltman would be those names, but those guys have already banked their positions based on making the final at this year's World's Strongest Man. So who do I think is likely to qualify? Well, if you look at the North American tour, you have people like Mark Felix, who's always doing that particular event as a good opportunity to qualify, and Eddie Williams has also been offered an invitation to compete at that North American qualifier. So good luck to Eddie. Hopefully he can make it 2 World's Strongest Man appearances in a row. Eddie did really, really well winning the monster truck pool, I believe. So he's just got to be a bit more of a rounded athlete and compete really well at that North American qualifier. And as long as he ends up on the podium, that will get him his position to World's Strongest Man next year. So far, looking at my list, I've got 11 names written down, so we already know half of the competitors, and we've got a long way into World's Strongest Man next year. But it's really, I thought it'd be nice for the guys and for you guys to know sort of who's already in the mix, potential names that could compete at other shows to qualify, and it also maybe highlights who needs to be qualifying, who needs to be taking up the opportunity to compete in these other Giants Live shows. Now, at the end of the year, Giants Live will host their official Strongman World Championships in America, and the person that wins that gains an invitation to a qualifier. So if you're an amateur, or an open amateur at least, and you qualify via the World Championships this year, potentially you could get an invitation to one of the Giants Live competitions that happens before World's Strongest Man. And that would give you an opportunity to qualify for Worlds. That's what happened to Trey Mitchell III. And he did really, really well, and making that final, even though it was via a stone eliminator, which were in the rules, he has banked his place for next year. So I'm hoping to see the likes of Alexei Novikov make it through, because, you know, he's definitely a contender for the title, if not the podium. I'd probably expect to see Iron Bibby and Larry Wheels. And maybe there's some new names that we don't know about that are going to come out this year. People that have been sort of training really hard and then all of a sudden just step it up a notch and maybe take the podiums. A bit like the Strongman brothers did this year. Always very consistent and always very good athletes, but never having made the final. They did actually achieve that this year, which is really, really great for them and really great for Scotland to have 2 really strong ambassadors there who have already banked their spots for next year. So this is my quick video. I just thought I would cover off what I roughly know about the competitions coming up, who's competing, and who we think is going to make World's Strongest Man in 2020. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm trying to do something a little bit different because previously I was trying to use a laptop and the microphone sound wasn't very good. I've also invested in a microphone, and it turns out that that is not compatible with my phone or my MacBook, so that can go back. So I thought I would try using my phone. I've got it flipped the other way, so I can't actually see what I'm recording, but I'm pretty confident that the video quality should be better, and hopefully the sound quality too. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys soon.